Solving compound inequalities. A compound inequality is an inequality formed by joining two, forgot to get my pen going, by joining two inequalities with the word and or the word or. Yes, we are writing things. Welcome, we are here. Excellent. All right, so we have two different types of compound inequalities. They could be and inequalities or inequalities. Think about the difference in just the meaning of the words and or, right? If you say you're going to get a sandwich and an apple, you're going to get both, right? If you say you're going to get a sandwich or an apple, you're probably just going to get one or the other. Same kind of thing works with our math inequalities. So if you're dealing with an and inequality, the numbers must be solutions to both inequalities. Jaden, I don't need all the commentary already. So numbers must be solutions to both inequalities. So for example, if you were dealing with the inequalities, x is greater than or equal to 2, right? This graph has a closed circle at 2 and is then going to the left. I'm sorry, to the right. But then if you had x is less than 5, that is an open circle at 5 and then goes to the right. Now, if you look kind of in the middle here, don't these two graphs overlap? Right here. Yeah. So they would overlap like right here. See this part? That part where they overlap are all the numbers that work for both inequalities. So those are the solutions that work for both. So those would be the answers. So the answers are the numbers between 2 and 5. Yeah, exactly. 2, 3, 4, and then all the little decimals in between, right? Not 5 because it's an open circle. So the big thing to remember here is when you're dealing with an and inequality, we have a general rule, and that general rule is to shade in the middle. Okay, and I'll show you what that means in just a second. Shade in the middle. Does yours say on? Oh. All right, so or inequalities then, this means the numbers only have to be a solution to one of the inequalities, not both of them. So that means if you have something like y is less than or equal to -2, you would have your closed circle at 2, and then it would be shaded to the left. And then if you had y is greater than 1, you'd have your open circle at 1, and you'd shade to the right. Now, if you look at these, look in the middle, do they overlap at all? Look at where the pink highlighting is. Do these, no, it's just open space in the middle, right? Because there's no numbers that work for both of them. So for ones like this, we would shade on the outsides. It would go in opposite directions. So shade on the outside. So solving compound inequalities with and. Sorry for the interruption, people at home. All right, so what you're going to do with these, very similar to solving equations. You're going to get the variable by itself, but this time you're going to get it by itself in the middle of an and inequality using opposite operations. You must use the opposite operation on all parts of the inequality, and I'll show you what that means in just a second. So if you look at number 1 here, we have how this reads. See how this, like, there's this big inequality and it's all kind of smushed together? This reads as 4 is less than or equal to n plus 3 is less than 9. When it's all smushed together like this is an and inequality, okay? Or inequalities will specifically have the word or in them. And ones are kind of smushed together. Now, if you look at this inequality, it's kind of split up into 3 parts. We have a left side, We have a middle, and then we have a right side, right? If you look at your variable, isn't your variable in that middle portion? Yeah, but we don't want it to have that 3 next to it. We want it to be all by itself in that middle portion. So think just your opposite operations like we did before. I'm going to, just so we can kind of see this a little bit neater, I'm going to rewrite this down below. So 4 is less than or equal to n plus 3 is less than 9. I want to get my n all by itself in the middle. So that means we want to get rid of that 3 that's also in the middle. N should be the only thing there. Well, how would you get rid of adding 3? You would subtract 3, but here's where you need to be careful. Aren't there kind of 3 portions to this? There's a middle, a left, and a right. So if you subtract 3 from the middle, you also have to subtract it from the left and the right. All right. So then you just go through and simplify. What's 4 minus 3? 1 is less than or equal to, then in the middle you'll only have your n left, is less than, and then what's 9 minus 3? 6. And there is your inequality. So what this actually means is that your numbers are like between 1 and 6. So this is a range, is kind of what this is. Well, I'm about to show you. We haven't gotten there yet. All right, so now when you graph this, we have 2 different numbers to graph. We have a 1 and a 6. Now with this 1, if you take a look here, isn't there a less than or equal to symbol? So just think about what you did before. Would that be an open or a closed circle? Closed. So put a closed circle at 1. Then what about at 6? Do you think open or closed if it's a less than? Open. Very good. And then don't even think about directions. This is an and inequality, and isn't your variable in the middle? So if your variable is in the middle, you are going to shade in the middle. It goes in the middle. You don't need any arrows for this one because it's in the middle. This one you only need arrows if it's being shaded in like in opposite directions for these. So for these they're ands, so it's where it overlaps. So since it's where it overlaps, you don't need arrows for these. Not everything's the same. Okay, so I know that this is a little tricky at first. Yes. So let's look at number 2. You were literally just telling me that you didn't understand. Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's look at number 2. We have 0 is less than or equal to x over 7 is less than or equal to 1. So again, this is one that's smushed together. Your x is in the middle. But what else is in the middle with that x that we don't want there? Yeah, you're dividing by 7. So we want to get rid of dividing by 7. How would you get rid of that? You would multiply by 7. So we're going to multiply the left and the right by 7. What's 0 times 7? 0, and then just drop down your less than or equal to symbol. Your x, the 7's in the middle will cancel, so you just have x in the middle. And then drop down your less than or equal to symbol, and then what's 1 times 7? 7. You writing this down, Corey? Or not Corey? Bailey? Okay. All right. Oh, would these have open or closed circles, guys? They would both be closed because they both have the bar underneath. So put a closed circle at 0. I'm sorry? You're overthinking it. Closed circle at 7. Now this is an and inequality. X is in the middle, right? So if your variable is in the middle, you should shade in the middle. Did that kind of answer your question, Dallas? Oh, I don't think I did. I don't know. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. I'm a human. All right. Correct. It's numbers between 0 and 7. So like 1 is an answer, 2 is an answer, 3 is an answer. Does that kind of make sense? I'm sorry? Yeah, there's a few. I don't know if there's any today though. Okay. All right, now let's look at number 3. We're just trying a bunch of these. 30 is greater than 5b is greater than 20. So here we have our variable in the middle again, right? We got 30 is greater than 5b is greater than 20. We want to get our variable all by itself in the middle. So if I want just b in the middle, what number do I need to get rid of? The 5. How would I get rid of that 5? Yep, we're currently multiplying by 5, so to get rid of it, divide by 5. But if I divide by 5 in the middle, where else do I have to divide by 5? Yeah, on all parts, the left and the right. Okay, so then let's simplify. What's 30 divided by 5? 6, good. Is greater than b. Oh, I don't like that because the 6 kind of looks like a b and vice versa. I don't like using b as a variable. Yeah, and then 20 divided by 5 is 4. Okay. Technically, there's infinite number of numbers in between because aren't there lots of decimals there too? Yeah, like 5.5 and 5.75 and 5.25 and yeah, but that's okay. That happens. So put an open circle at 6, put an open circle at 4, and do we shade? Where do we shade? In the middle. Correct. We're going to practice these ones first. Good. No, not really. All right. Good. All right, so number 4, we have 6 is greater than or equal to negative 3x is greater than or equal to negative 21. You probably did it, yeah. 6 is greater than or equal to negative 3x is greater than or equal to negative 21. We want to get x all by itself in the middle. So what do I have to do to all 3 parts here? Divide by negative 3. Good. Okay. Divide all 3 parts by negative 3. What's 6 divided by negative 3? Negative 2. Good. Very good, Asia. Asia asked if we have to flip the signs because we're dividing by a negative. Absolutely. Yes, that same rule still applies. So since all parts are being divided by a negative, take your greater than or equal to, flip it, make it a less than or equal to, then your x, then flip your other inequality symbol, and what's negative 21 divided by negative 3? 7. No, just regular 7. Oh dear. All right, so would the negative 2 have an open or closed circle? Closed. Yep, 7 would also have a closed circle. And then we shade to the middle. Yeah, lots of numbers in this one. Good. Mason, you getting this down back there? Okay. I'm sorry? Which word? Opposite. You're welcome. Okay. 2 more of these kind. All right. Take a look at number 5. We have negative 8 is less than 2p, or I'm sorry, is less than negative 2p. is less than or equal to 14. I want to get the variable p all by itself in the middle. So what opposite operation do I have to do here? Divide by -2. Good? Yes. Dallas asked if we would switch our symbol. Absolutely, because we're dividing by a negative. So what is -8 divided by -2? +4. Your less than becomes a greater than. We just have p in the middle. The less than or equal to becomes a, well, greater than or equal to, but then yes, we would have a -7. Good. No, you were just one step ahead. All right, so at the 4, open or close circle at 4. Open or close circle at -7. Close, because there's a bar underneath, right? That's okay, that happens sometimes. And then where do we shade? In the middle. In the order. Yeah, well, and sometimes the order will be the way you want it to. Sometimes it won't. You'll do. I would always just make sure you graph your numbers first. And all right, last one of this kind. Questions yet? People at home, questions yet? We got this? All right, Annalise says we got this. She is the voice of the class. I'm okay with this. Oh no, don't give him that job. We have 1 is less than or equal to n minus 3 is less than 7. So last one of the ands, 1 is less than or equal to n minus 3 is less than 7. What opposite operation must I do to get my n all by itself in the middle? Addition, and we're going to add the number 3 to the left, the middle, and the right. Good. Oh no, I can't draw a 3. Threes are hard with this stylus. It's this, I know it's this stylus. I promise that I actually have neat handwriting in real life. So 1 plus 3 is 4, is less than or equal to n, is less than 10. I would say one of the most common mistakes with this, guys, is just simply comping your inequality symbols wrong. So just make sure you're careful with that. Yeah, it's easy. It's an easy mistake to make. So at 4, open or close circle. Closed at 10. Open, and where am I shading? In the middle. You'll be okay. Okay. People at home, any questions yet? Any ones you need me to go back to? We're doing OR inequalities. Okay. So an OR inequality works for one part or the other part. Right. These ones, let's write ourselves a little note here so we don't forget. These ones we're going to shade, shade left and right. Yeah, opposite directions, left and right, outsides, however you want to say it. Spelling's hard. All right, so these ones, how can you tell they're a compound inequality or an OR inequality? Well, they all have the word OR in them, okay? So ands are going to be smushed together. ORs are going to simply say OR. Now, what this means, though, is they're written as two separate things, right? So what that means is you're going to have to solve each one separately. But what's nice about the ones we do today is they're just one step. So it's not going to take that much extra work. There's like 2 steps. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. Okay, so take a look at part A here. we have v over 8 is greater than 1, or 3v is less than negative 6. So let's first just look at this one on the left. V over 8 is greater than 1. So with this, just treat these as two separate inequalities. Okay, like what you did on your quiz, yeah. These are two separate inequalities. Focus on the one on the left first. If you have v over 8 is greater than 1, what would your opposite operation be? Multiply by 8. So multiply the left and right here by 8. All right. So then we'll have v is greater than, what's 1 times 8? 8. Then don't forget to copy down your or. That is part of your answer. You need to have the word or. It is. It is. And then on the other side, we have 3v is less than negative 6. So what opposite operation would you use here? No, we're over here. 3v, we would divide. Yeah, there's like two separate things. Okay, so then we'll have v is less than, and what is negative 6 divided by 3? Negative 2. Now let's graph these, and then we'll worry about where to shade. So let's put our dots. So if you have v is greater than 8, don't worry, just worry about if it's open or closed. So open or closed at 8. Open. I just said 8. At negative 2, open or closed? Open. Good. Now, if it's an or, when it's an or, you shade right in opposite directions. So you're going to shade to the left and to the right. These ones don't overlap. We do get to have arrows this time, Jaden. Yes, Dallas, I have an answer. I wouldn't stress about it. This is just me trying to show you the simplest way to do it. Like, because technically, Dallas, see, it's greater than 8, so you would shade to the left there anyway. It's less than negative 2, so you would shade to the left there anyway. You would shade to the right here anyway. It's just combined into one thing. I'm just trying to teach you a shortcut where you don't even have to worry about that. You just shade on the outsides. Okay? All right, number 2. We have 8x, or not 8x, x plus 1 is greater than 8, or 10x is less than negative 20. So focus on one first and then the other. If you have x plus 1 is greater than 8, we want to get our x all by itself. So what opposite operation would you do to get rid of adding 1? Very good. You would subtract 1. You did. It's on Elise. Good job. All right, so then we have x is greater than 8 minus 1 is 7. So we have 10x is less than negative 20. Somebody at home, what would be my opposite operation here on the right? 10x is less than negative 20. I don't know. Aaron, what do you think? What would our opposite operation be for 10x is less than negative 20? Did we all leave class? Thank you, Peyton. Yes, you would divide. Peyton answered. I don't know where Aaron went. But, all right, Peyton said we are going to divide by 10, and I absolutely agree. So divide by 10, and we're going to have x is less than, and then negative 20 divided by 10. No, is negative 2. All right, so now it's 7. Now it's 7, open or close circle? Open. At, what about at, oh, my pen turned off. What about at -2? Jake Sanders, open or close circle at -2? Thank you. Focus. Jake Sanders, open or close circle at -2? Open, thank you. It is open. And then since it's an or, do we shade in the middle or on the outsides? Outsides. Yes, and for Jaden's happiness, please ensure that you put arrows on either side. All right. Couple more. Whew. Maybe. I don't know. We've wasted an awful lot of time. I think that Dallas is on the right track with that thought. So we got number 3 now. We have 1 plus v is less than or equal to -9, or -6v is less than 30. So 1 plus v is less than or equal to -9, or -6v is greater than 30. So look at the left. We want to get v all by itself. So Hannah, what do you think we would do with this 1? Yep, we are going to subtract. Subtract 1 from both sides. V is less than or equal to -9 minus 1. Don't guess if you struggle with your negatives. Plug it in your calculator. It is -10. I'm sorry? Yeah, you might, but that's on this next part here, we will. Yeah, it's Mr. McCoy. It's gonna be like this all year. Okay. Or then on the other side, we have -6v is less than 30. Yeah, I do. Jesse, what's our opposite operation if we have -6v is less than 30? I couldn't hear you, Jesse. What'd you say? Divide. Good. Yeah, we are going to divide by -6. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. I'm dividing by a -6. What must I do? Switch your sign. So we have, this one is going to become a v is greater than, and what is 30 divided by -6? -5. So we have v is less than or equal to -10, or v is greater than -5. Corey, open or close circle at -10? Close. For this side, for the -10. Closed, good. And then what about for the other side, Corey, with the -5? Yeah, that one's open. And Nick, if it's an or inequality, where do I need to shade? You there, Nick? So if it's for these ones, if it's an or inequality, these ones won't overlap. So like if you look at the one above it, where did we shade on the first one? Yeah, on the outside. So these ones will all be on the outside. Guys, why are we like, there's so many noises. I cannot focus with this right now. Okay. So I have to like monitor you guys, but then I have people at home and it's just too much for my brain right now. All right. So number 4. We have b divided by 3 is greater than 3. I don't know why I picked up b again. That's the worst variable to use. I know, b's, they just look too much like 6s. And then you have b minus 8 is less than or equal to -14. So let's focus on the left. We have b divided by 3 is greater than 3. Yeah, Jaden says we are going to multiply by 3. And that will give us b is greater than 9, is what he says. Or then on the other side, we have b minus 8 is less than or equal to negative 14. Olivia, what would I do with a negative 8 in this situation? Olivia, what do you think I do with this one? What's my opposite operation? We don't know. Peyton, any ideas? B minus 8? Yes, Peyton, that is correct. We would add. We do not need to swap our symbols since it's not multiplication or division. So we'll have b is greater than or equal to, and negative 14 plus 8 is negative 6. Sorry that b's and 6's look so similar. Okay, so now, let's see. Aaron, are you back yet? You've returned. Aaron, you're back. Tell us, what kind of circle do we use at 9? We use an open circle. We were so worried about you. Okay. Why isn't there a 9? Oh, well, that's okay. 9 is between 8 and 10. That's okay. It's still there. Sorry. Life's annoying. All right. And then what about at the negative 6, Annalise? Open or closed? It would be closed. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is an or inequality. So when it's an or inequality, where do we always shade? The outside. That's not really up. Okay. If you turn your whole paper. We did add the arrows. Okay. 2 more of these. We got some word problems. We're just practicing these until, I don't know, we can do them blindfolded. Oh, you'll figure it out. So we got x over 6 is greater than or equal to 1, or negative 4x is greater than or equal to 32. Let's look at the left. We have x divided by 6 is less than or equal to 1. Mason J, what is my opposite operation here if I'm dividing by 6? I'm sorry? We're on this one. So I want to do the opposite of dividing. Opposite of division. Multiplication, good. So we're going to multiply both sides by 6. And when I multiply both sides by 6, I'm going to have x is greater than or equal to 1 times 6 is just 6. Now we're on the other side. We have negative 4x is greater than or equal to 32. We want to get our x all by itself. Dallas, what would my opposite operation here be? Yeah, by what? Yeah, we're going to divide by negative 4. Good. What's going to happen since we're dividing both sides by a negative? Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. What's going to happen to our symbol? It's going to change. Yeah, we're going to flip it around. So our greater than or equal to is going to be a less than or equal to. And 32 divided by negative 4 is negative 8. Don't forget your negative sign, though. Okay. Asia, open or close circle at 6. Closed. Lynn, open or close circle at negative 8. Closed. And Jaden, where do I shade? To the outside with our arrows. All right. Whew. All right. Last one of these. All right. Lynn, are you on your phone? Please don't. Thank you. All right, number 6. We have -7 plus r is greater than -8, or 5 plus r is less than 1. So -7 plus r is greater than -8, or 5 plus r is less than 1. We want to get our r all by itself here. This is curious. Jaden's not sure which one we should do, and he's normally so confident. So we have -7 plus r. Now remember from the start of the year, when we're dealing with both negatives and positives in the same problem, which one's more important, the subtraction or the addition? Right, or the negative or the positive? The negative, right? If the negative is more important, what would be the opposite operation for the negative portion of this? Addition. So you want to add because the negative sign is more important. So you are going to add 7 on the left and the right here. Because if you also guys think about this, if you took -7 minus 7, would that cancel? No. Exactly. All right, so our 7s will cancel and you'll have r is greater than, what is -8 plus 7? -1, good. Or, and then on the other side, we want to get rid of this 5. Any ideas on how we would get rid of this 5? We would subtract, good. Sorry. So r is less than, what's 1 minus 5? -4. I don't know, some old guy back in the day. All right, so Hannah, open or close circle at -1? Open. Jake Newcomb, open or close circle at -4? It was worth a try. Jake Sanders, open or close circle at -4? Open. And Jesse Campbell, where are we going to shade, sir? Did you say something, Jesse? I saw your mic turned off, but then I didn't hear anything. Well, where have we been shading with all of these ones when it's an or? Yeah, these ones, so anytime it's an or, you're going to shade on the outside, okay? So just be careful with that. So, all right, so those ones we're done with. So guys, if it's an and inequality, where do we shade? Well, if it's an and inequality, we shade in the middle. Good, thank you. If it's an or, we shade outside. So just be careful with that, guys. I don't know, someone's yelling. All right. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna write each sentence as an inequality, then we're gonna graph it. We have a few of these and then we're done. All right. So we have a number x is greater than -8 and less than or equal to 4. Let's go through, let's identify our important information here. Lynn, you in there? You okay? Okay. So we have, what were my important numbers, Jaden? All right. X, -8, and 4. All right. All right. Then Jaden says that my important math action words here are is greater than and less than or equal to. What else is important here, guys? Well, that's kind of part of it. And why would and maybe be important, Asia? Right, that tells you the type of compound inequality it is, right? This and here. So I want you guys to make your life as simple as possible with these ones. Now, when it's an and before, like the ones that are pre-written for you, aren't they all smushed together with your variable in the middle? Those can be hard to write on your own though. So if you're writing it on your own, what I would go ahead and do is just put the word in it, okay? Because it means the same thing. So what I mean is like physically write and in it instead of putting your variable in the middle. Because, so here's the thing, if you guys can put the variable in the middle with these, well, because that's how they were written up here, so a lot of people try to do it that way. It's just harder when you're writing your own. The reason it's harder is because you're going to have to change some of your symbols and it just becomes more challenging. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. Identify if it's an and or an or, and then write that word. So this is an and, so go ahead and write the word and. Step one, okay? Step two, what's the variable it's telling you to use? X. So give yourself some room because you're going to need to write the inequalities, but I'm going to put an X on the left and an X on the right. Okay, give yourself some room for your inequality. Then pick your sign. X is greater than -8. So if I have X is greater than -8, I'm going to draw my little pointy part going to the right, and then -8, like this. And X is less than or equal to -4. So then I would put a less than or equal to symbol and then a 4. Is it a negative? Oh, okay. Did I say negative? Sorry. Okay, and then you're done with writing it, right? That's all you have to do. Now let's graph it. So if I graph this, Corey, would we have an open or closed circle at -8? Open, good. Nick, what about at 4? Open or closed? Closed, good. Now, this is an and inequality. So go up to the top if you need to. If it's an and inequality, do I shade in the middle or on the outsides? If it's an and inequality, I shade in the middle. Yes, I do. Okay. No, it's done. It's done. You didn't have to. Sorry. All right, so a number y is at most 0 or at least 2. So circle your numbers, which are y, 0, or 2. Yes, so you could go ahead and identify your or if you wanted to, because it says here y is at most 0 or at least 2. And then what are my important math action words here? At most and at least. Good. Okay. So we've annotated. Then step 1, we decided this is an or, so write your or. Then write a variable on the left and write a variable on the right. Leave yourself enough room to write the rest of your inequality. Okay? Okay. Step 2 is to decide your inequality symbol. We have that chart, right? So if you're ever not sure, use your chart. If we're dealing with at most is like the maximum level, right? So if you can have at most $10, can you have exactly $10? Or we'll go with 0. If you can have at most $0, can you have $0? At most? But can you But can you have more than that? No, so at most means less than or equal to 0. Again, you can always use your chart. Or y is at least 2. So if you have to be at least 2 years old, can you be exactly 2 years old? Yes, can you be more than 2? Yeah, if it's at least 2, right? But can you be under 2? Right, so this one would be y is greater than or equal to 2. So, Olivia, have you returned? It's hard for me to know if someone's actually in class if they never answer me. So, we have a 0. Peyton, do you think it'd be an open or a closed circle at 0? Thank you, Peyton. It would be closed. All right, closed circle at 0. Aaron, what about at 2? Closed, very good. And this is an OR inequality. So, ladies and gentlemen, if it's an OR, do we shade in the middle or on the outsides? Outside with your arrows. Okay. 2 more. A number D is more than 0 and less than 10. Identify your numbers. We have the variable D, 0 and 10. Do you guys think this is an and or an or inequality? Look at your words. Is Jaden the only one that knows? I can't be sure. All right, it's an and. This is an and inequality. So then we need our math action words. We have is more than, and then we also have less than. So what's our first step now when we're writing these? What word do I write? I write the word and. What's my next step? No, before we figure out our symbols. Write your variable. Both sides need a variable, so put D on the left and the right. Now we need D is more than 0. What symbol do you think I would use for more than? No. More than would just simply be greater than 0. What about less than 10? That's just simply a less than symbol. Annalise, open or close circle at 0? Thank you. And then Hannah, what about a 10? Open, very good. Now, this is an and inequality. So class, not just Jaden, class, if it is an and inequality, where do I shade? The middle. There are 3 people in class, 4 people in class. Can't wait till we're back in person and I can give you, well, you didn't answer, so I don't know. All right, and then last one. I'm trying to stay calm. A number A is fewer than -6 or no less than -3. So identify your variables. We have A, well, or your numbers A, -6, and -3. Take a look at our words here. Do we think this is going to be an and or an or inequality? Or. Okay. And then let's identify our phrases for our inequalities. We have is fewer than and no less than. So next step is to write down your word. Put your variable on the left and on the right, leave yourself some room. A is fewer than -6. What do we think is fewer than would be as far as inequalities go? Very good, less than -6, and is no less than. Now, no less than is like, it's not less than it, right? If it's not less than it, it is greater than it. Good. And then Jake Sanders, open or close circle at -6. Open. Jesse Campbell, open or close circle at -3. Jesse, any ideas for -3, open or closed? Open, good. And then if it's an or, where do I shade, ladies and gentlemen? To the outsides. All right. Good.